The ministry has fallen. They are coming. In the weeks since former Minister of Magic Cornelius Fudge peacefully handed over the ministry to the Make the Ministry Pure Again movement, led by Voldemort, with both Lucius Malfoy and Dolores Umbridge flanking his sides, we have seen record numbers of Death Eaters apparate into government buildings across the nation. Dark marks continue to be seen above these government buildings as these takeovers are complete. Ministry of Magic employee Arthur Weasley continues to speak out about the research as well as allyship that continues to be at threat without him being able to have access to his office. The funding for the study, allyship, or safety and protection of Muggles is one of the many departments that have been removed. The message of the Death Eaters of pure blood overall and the removal of all those who do not fit into or were born from pure blood families, as well as those who are considered squibs, half-bloods, but especially Muggle-borns, continue to see a rise of violence and risk. Those who cannot hide their magical history and origin physically have seen uptakes and violence, harassment, as well as lack of protections being stripped from them as we continue to find out how much of the prophecy that the new ministry published they plan to move forward on. Though it spans over 900 pages, Voldemort's Death Eater followers continue to chant the words from the prophecy. No pure-blood man can live while anyone else survives. The new ministry has said that this is a call to action. Rita Skeeter, the new press secretary, has released a number of statements discussing not only the allowance, but the necessity of what Lucius Malfoy, Voldemort, and Umbridge continue to do to the systems that be. Over 50 rooms of requirements popped up across the nation yesterday as former Dumbledore's Army members as well as Order of the Phoenix members continue to gain numbers. Using invisibility cloaks to continue to hide those most at risk, many are using the changing staircases as well as the constantly changing passwords to find meeting spaces for their Dumbledore's Army locally. We ask all first years and second years who do not yet have their Defense Against the Dark Arts skills covered to please start meeting with those who have been in battle. While Harry and others continue to release the list of Horcruxes publicly, the dismantling of the power of those Horcruxes can only come from the gathering of those on the side of Magic for All. The educational systems continue to be in crisis as the General Atorn, Bellatrix Lestrange, has recently announced that all businesses, educational systems, and organizations that continue to have non-pure blood language will be under formal investigation. We have received a warning. The tracking that was once for all underage magic wands now applies only to those who are considered non-wizards. The tracking for their wands will go back into effect immediately, and the ministry will be using this information as well as what magic they will be doing with these wands, as well as the location of these wands, to continue to round up those who speak openly against the new ministry. Any ministry employees who do not put the dark mark in their email will be considered loyalists to the last administration and risk not only the loss of the use of their own wands, but Azkaban punishments as well. Lucius Malfoy continues to claim that once he is done with the Ministry of Magic, he will move on to magical ministries across the world and take those over as well. The list of banned magical creatures continues to grow. Earlier this week, the Quibbler reported on the erasure of the term giants, as well as werewolves, not only from the current policies of the ministry, but also all historical references. Hogwarts of History is now banned, as well as any books before 6-year students that practice or perform actual magic. Non-pureblood children and adults alike have found tracking back on their wands and find that their use of magic, as well as their locations, continue to be sent to the new ministry. Those with dark marks continue to show up to shut down the uses of magic happening. We ask all Dumbledore's Army members to continue to move the locations of the rooms of requirement, as well as use extendable ears to continue to connect those rooms of requirement across the country. For the Hogwarts Express has been compromised, and many no longer feel safe using it. We have heard that Dementors and Death Eaters are along the routes, and will be searching those trains. Rita Skeeter's announcement today that Dolores would be taking on yet another department, a created one, that will specifically target all those who continue to use anti-pure blood language for examples of what it looks like when the American children grow up and still tell lies. Safety for all can be found under the Lumos of Wands and the markings of rainbows. Hermione Granger spoke out publicly today. The ministry has now introduced a Witch's Body, Pure Blood Wizard's Choice bill. As the updated numbers for attacks on female magical folk by pureblood wizards continues to rise from 1 in 4 to 1 in 3. After the ousting of the Aurors, new language was implemented into the armies of the new ministry that did not allow for even the investigation of these claims by the female magical folk, most impacted by this new bill. Now more than ever, we cannot depend on anyone else to show up to Hogwarts. Anyone who knows that this is our home and that our friends need us are asked to come together. Wands up, backs to each other, don't break ranks. We must lumos the dark for all to see, for they are looking for our lights. We need all those that stand against the Make the Ministry Pure Again movement to begin learning defense against the dark arts spells, especially if they are allowed to have wands. The protection of those who have already had wands stripped is dependent on those who continue to be allowed to legally perform magic, though those impacted by these decrees continues to make that a short list. Stay safe, stay together. And even though we know Gilderoy Lockhart showed exactly who he was, his books continue to be more understood, and his film adaptations continue to stretch into more understanding and languages than any other writer of magical stories from our generation. And like many who have gone to the side of Death Eaters, the betrayal of those who once created the safest spaces, mentally, physically, and emotionally, for all those who believe in magic for all, is one of the worst betrayals we could imagine. He has joined the side of those with red caps as we continue to use his spells against him and all that he represents. The ministry has fallen. Hogwarts is our home. These are our friends. They are coming.